For decades, the world has operated on a single arrogant assumption. If we dig in the desert and find no ruins, the Bible must be a myth. We treat archaeology like a perfect photograph of the past. But that confidence is based on a massive scientific error called architectural bias. New research from the Timna Valley just revealed a massive high-tech empire that lived entirely in tents and left zero stone footprint. This forces us to face a hard truth. We are so quick to question the validity of the Torah based on what we don't find. But as you're about to see, once we dig deeper into the actual scientific method, the perceived conflict between Torah and archaeology doesn't just fade, it quickly vanishes.
So in general, I find that the different questions people have, either it's in philosophy, in archaeology, or in science, sometimes an overlap of the archaeology and the science. So for the book, I wanted to address a whole range of questions. And to do that, I had to learn quite a bit about archaeology beyond what I already knew and interacting with some of the professionals in the field. And there's a review for someone who's like, why am I reading a physicist's book about archaeology? So like there's a scum of sorts from an archaeologist. But so really a lot of these questions in archaeology,
Were these Jewish archaeologists? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Are these Jewish archaeologists we treat to, or just any?
Many are, some not, different backgrounds, but biblical archaeology, it's the people who enter the field in general. People should know that it's largely predominantly secular people who enter the field of biblical archaeology, often secular Jews, and it's just not such an appealing field for like a Frum Yid. I spoke with a couple of the Frum Yid in there, and they were like, yeah, it's not like anyone goes into archaeology and stops being Frum or stops believing. It's just like who goes into a field that's so grayscale, where like at the end you're going to say, well, like
it could be this, could be that.
It could be this. Yeah. So I looked into the methods of archaeology, and it's very different than physics. And it's like what I've always felt about like the biologists and the biology majors. Like they like go and then they learn like, yeah, the electron does this and it does that, and then you connect your molecules, and like they don't really know what's happening necessarily. There's certain like
use a simplified model. It's okay.
Yeah,
I had a grad student who told me, he's like, this whole biophysics that was becoming popular 20 years ago, whatever, or forming, says once physicists get into a field, it starts to really strengthen it, put structure and quantitative reasoning, and that, like, can't just get away with this hand wavy stuff anymore. Like, there's a system. You have to go through the system and approach it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's the biologist.
Yeah.
We love biologists here, of course. We love everyone.
And what I found with like, I always felt a little like biology and archaeology is that you work with whatever assumptions there are, but the confidence in archaeology is like disgusting. It's like absurd. Like you see how people talk to each other in the field, and it's like they use like personal attacks and they say things with complete confidence and then contradict themselves.
If you're enjoying this excerpt from my podcast with Dr. Epstein, be sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter so you don't miss out on a sneak preview of my upcoming book on the synthesis of Torah and science. The link is in a pinned comment below the subscribe button.
And then come out to be wrong as archaeology discovers more from their like super confident statements. It's a different culture. And so people would throw around these arguments. They're like, this archaeologist said it with so much confidence. It must be Judaism's wrong. So I'm like, all right, so let's delve in and open it up and let's see like what's really being said and what's known and what's not. And so I go through the different questions, and some of them are just like philosophical things. People didn't necessarily think of it in different ways. And so just being creative, understanding the breadth of what it can mean and what it really means. So I deal with a lot of the archaeology things. Sometimes people will like flex things to try to fit the science, and then the science just isn't being interpreted right, or it's just not right. And then time later, you discover something different. And so in the book, my general approach is to let the science be as right as we can, and let's assume it's right. And the regime post-Mabul Chabad will just assume science is either exactly the same or it's recovering from the Mabul. There's approaches in such a way as well. But as far as like the archaeology, I just say like, if archaeologists say anything contrary to the Torah, so we don't understand the archaeology or you don't understand.
Well, you have a lot of pages of archaeology. Is there something you found in here that really made it like, hey, wow, actually it does agree, or hey, wow, or on the opposite, hey, this finding everyone says is just completely without basis, really? Is there one specific example that we can hit off on?
Yeah, I think the great one is like the population of the Jews in the desert. And Joshua Berman, for example, sometimes if you're at the top of some kind of field and you say something, so everyone assumes everyone in that field feels that way. So like you have a rabbi, archaeologist, who says that the numbers in Chumash are not meant to be interpreted like exactly exaggerated. Yeah. And so people say, well, if he holds it, so then if even the rabbi holds. So I look into it and like go into depth into what's going on with the numbers. And it happens to be very nice that what I suspected to be the case. There's a archaeologist, there has been Yosef in Eretz Yisrael, who at Tel Aviv University, who's been studying this and delving into it for now over a decade. And basically he says that both from the minimalists to the maximalists, they're all biased toward minimalism, because like archaeology is focused on preserved structures and what you see. But as many archaeologists have shown in recent years, there's a lot of things that don't leave structures behind. For example, if a place stays populated, as Yitzhak Meitlis shows and cites a bunch of stuff, you're not going to see people lived over that area again. So they're using the things, or they're recycling the materials, or they're building over it. And you just don't see Yerushalayim for hundreds of years when it was populated. You don't see it in the archaeological record because they built over it and they use the resources. So a lot of these assumptions, they found, Erez Ben Yosef found, like you have entire massive tribes of nomadic peoples, and like you're not going to see them. And not only that, but the Torah is mashma. If you look into the hanhaga of Hashem by the Yidden and what it means, like that we're in Ivri, we're the Ivriim, we pass by, like the way Hashem is manig, and you see hints of this throughout all of the Torah, that Hashem doesn't leave very much behind. He leaves a little bit of everything, just so that we have what to build upon and what to understand and remember. And so the fact that certain things we don't see in the archaeology so clear, or certain things are unresolved, so often that itself fits very well in with what our expectations are. And not only according to the Torah, but also scientifically, what we expect to see from the past. It's not pasha that we're going to see a lot of stuff. And what we see, it's not necessarily going to be the representative amount, as opposed to just which region you happen to be able to see because it was well preserved.
They said that about the fossil record also, going all the way down. If you have anything you want to tell people or something to take away, we'd love to hear your parting words. Dr. Epstein.
I want the audience to know that lots of intelligent from people have looked at all the evidence in the science and the archaeology and all the different fields and come to the conclusion that Hashem is one, and that the Ribono Shalom is in control of the whole world, and that the Torah is true, and that we should spend Yomam V'Laila studying Hashem's Torah. I think that's a beautiful thing, and we see it in the science, and Dr. Wolf's channel is an incredible place to learn about the wisdom of Torah and science and how they enhance one another, and to increase in that, and to be mischazik. And the purpose of the whole world is that we should be echad with Hashem. That throughout all modern physics, we see the oneness of Hashem, the Eino Milvado, and that the truth to true simcha, says Gran Mishle, that's how a person sameach b'chalko, when he takes his ratzon and he aligns it with the ratzon Hashem. And many people in life feel like sometimes something doesn't feel right in life. And in my experience, when something doesn't feel right in life, it's that the person has to shift into a lifestyle of learning and the avodas Hashem, and that the more stark, often, if a person sort of feels like, if a person's ever mevatel Torah, or a person doesn't feel good, and they might not know where that's coming from, but the more a person channels it, and the more a person strives to do the ratzon Hashem, Hashem can open up things that you can never imagine, and different kiddush Hashems, and that really is in the chassid. And even if it's not the most direct path how we see it, Hashem knows all the materials and knows all of reality, and he'll take the path of send things along
from God's principle, the path of least resistance.
Right. As long as we're not taking the path of least resistance.
We have to do our job, and we have to let Hashem do his job. And we have to get out of the way. If you enjoyed this excerpt, click here to see the full podcast episode. And if you want to learn how quantum mechanics proves the Bible's age of the universe, click here. Thank you for partnering with me as we build this unshakable conviction together.